with the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports, that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay? And you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for, an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because, once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them.
Yeah.
So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest.
Ready.
Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they're brave enough to follow it.
Hello, welcome to Talking Tennis. Vanch is with me, and Jack. How are we doing?
Doing fine, Jack. This is quite an interesting matchup.
It is indeed. Just before we start, Vanch, can you hear me? Is this mic working? Am I okay? Can you hear that?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good.
Cool.
I can hear you fine.
Okie doke. Yeah, quite an interesting matchup. Today we're watching Arthur Thies versus Alexander Zverev in the Hamburg semi-finals. Initial thoughts, Vanch. I'm obviously very excited to watch Arthur. I've not seen a whole lot of him, but obviously I know all the hype around him. He's growing very, very quickly. Now the youngest guy in the top 100, right? He has been for a little while. Is that correct?
Yeah, and now actually in the top 50 as well with the win yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. He's sort of following in the footsteps of Alcaraz and Luna as one of these crazy young phenoms who just, get started from such a crazy young age. It's not normal. It's definitely abnormal. The forehand, obviously, the main thing. It's just so exciting to see. Yeah, I'm very excited for it, Vanch. Matchup thoughts initially, and we can have a little back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the match yesterday against Casper Ruud. It was quite a demolition job actually from Fils over the world number 4, and he was so imposing from the baseline. He has a really, really excellent forehand. Hits it with plenty of weight, and at the same time, it's so devastating when he's inside the baseline and he's just stepping in on it. And he hit 35 winners in 16 games yesterday, the 6-love, 6-4 match, and 25 of those came off of his forehand. And he's also really strong at recognizing when to come forward, and he has a good finishing power from the front part of the court. He has a really nice swing volley. He has excellent offensive mentality, I think. He reminds me a lot actually of like Monfils and Tsonga, kind of a hybrid of both of them, because he has like kind of the athleticism that Monfils has in terms of the electric shot making and kind of speed, and then he has the Tsonga mentality of just super explosive ground strokes, particularly off the forehand wing, and pretty good first serve as well. So he just has a lot of easy power, and he moves decently well as well. He's a little erratic still, like from time to time. He can sometimes pull the trigger a little too early, but that's a good weakness to have at this young age when everything is kind of coming at you for the first time. And
and Carlitos probably is an exception to the rule in that he's come out at such a young age and his game's so polished and put together, and that's not normal. Most of these guys have all this sort of unbridled power that they haven't quite put together yet, and Arthur Threes definitely is one of those guys. I feel like when we get the end product, we're probably going to see top 20 player at least. The power is just insane. Hard to say how far he'll go for sure. By the way, just 35 winners. He won 63 points, so he was hitting a winner more than 1 and 2 points. It's insane, obviously. That he won, I should say. The matchup is interesting because recently Zverev has been getting bullied a little bit on a clay court. I would say the losses that he is sustaining are coming to guys that are blowing him off the court. Bar Medvedev is maybe the only other one, but obviously Medvedev's a totally different matchup, and he can beat Zverev by playing him his own game. Everybody else, though, I mean, you've got guys that are blowing him off the court with similar weapons to Fils. You've got, let's see, Ruud, of course, Rublev. You've got Alcaraz is obviously a different kettle of fish. Christopher O'Connell, of course, that sneaks in there in Munich. That's not quite the same, but heavy balls. There is obviously a few scalps that Zverev's taken this year that do make me think he's got a pretty good chance here. But the way he played against Ruud, I mean, we could see him. I think I'm going with the Frenchman, Vanch.
Yeah, I am too. Although not so confident as you, just because he is still quite a big underdog and he has to follow up the win from yesterday. But I do think Zverev is starting to get back into form more or less. Yeah. He's still probably at maybe, like physically, I would say he's at 90-95% of the way there. The confidence isn't fully back. Like you said, most of the losses have been to top 10 players. Or I guess like Berrettini, for example, at Wimbledon. Rublev last week. I think he's 0-8 this year against top 10 players. And I'd say maybe the two bad losses that stick out are the one to Tara Daniel in Miami, and then the one that you just said, Christopher O'Connell in Munich. Those are the two sort of surprise losses. But he has been very competitive against the best players.
That's what I mean. So I was going to say, okay, you can go losing to a top 10 player, that's fine. But in reality, he's not come close in some of those matches. Like the Rublev match was pretty one-sided. The Ruud one really did go quite quickly from him. He is getting bullied a little bit. And I mean, that's why I'm going with Fils. I just think it's a matter of time before his ranking is higher and we go, oh, well, he's losing to a top 20 player. I think at the moment he's not playing the world number 71, right? So I
Yes.
really do think that this could be very slightly in the favour of Fils. Obviously, you've got Zverev's ability to go defensive backhand cross. We've not really seen Arthur getting challenged too much in that department, but if he is able to keep, here we go, already 15-30, if he is able to get the backhand in play frequently, then maybe it'll run away from Arthur, because as you say, he is a little bit up and down. Zverev could challenge him. I just think if he can get into a groove and he starts hitting well enough, then it'll be in the Frenchman's court to win.
Yeah, he's got to be very proactive at using the runaround forehand this Fils and trying to earn himself as many forehands as he possibly can. Because if he does go forehand to forehand, I do like him a lot against Zverev, just with Zverev's court position and how far back behind the baseline he tends to still stay in rallies, and he hasn't been super proactive at all in his comeback, or nearly, even when he was at his best. He's often quite passive on that wing, actually, a lot of the times. And just kind of waiting for a time where he can actually use the heaviness a little bit more and then step in. And then obviously he crushes backhands. His backhand is absolute money, and I'm still yet to see him really display that kind of offensive game. So that where he can get back to the level where he was at before. Like, it's just not quite all there yet.
I could also see, and that's a double fault, by the way, to bring up breakpoint on Fis's serve. I could also see the second serve of Zverev getting heavily challenged by Fils. I don't see why, if Zverev lets him into enough service games, I don't see why Fils wouldn't break quite frequently. Depends who Zverev's first serve is. I think that'll be ultra important in this matchup, because Fils is going to go pretty damn aggressive off that second serve. He's one of those guys that can really, really make Zverev a little bit scared off the first ball on return. Breakpoint, by the way, second serve. Zverev gets it back in play. Fils looking for a big forehand inside in. Has another chance, but Zverev's still in the rally. Tries to go inside out with the backhand. There's one of those shots that would make Vance cringe. Poor shot selection, and it is the break to Zverev.
Yeah, you gotta make those forehands. Can't, especially in a matchup like this where every forehand is basically a premium for Fils.
Yeah, I think he could definitely afford to be a little bit more patient going into the Zverev forehand. Sometimes the thing about Zverev's forehand is it's not a total weakness. Like, there are times where he plays it really well, and you kind of are scratching your head and you realize why he's obviously a top 5 player at his best. I do think, though, that what I'm saying is you can't be passive going into that wing. So I do think
you have to attack. Like, you have to attack with precision, because if you don't, then you're giving him enough time to really set up, and then he can actually hit it pretty heavy and big.
Yeah.
But you have to take advantage of his court position, being 5 feet behind the baseline, and then get the shorter, loopier topspin ball that you can then come forward on. Well, you have to be approaching to the sort of backhand, of course, because that's where he can come up with really good passing shots and sort of 2-shot pass combos.
Here we go. First look at a second serve, Vance. I just want to see what Fils does. Does he look for the forehand at all costs? Does he go ultra aggressive? He is camped pretty far back, probably to look for the forehand. Here we go. Zverev's second serve, double fault.
Yeah. And this is one area of Zverev's game that just hasn't really improved in the last 5-6 years. Like, sure, the counts are lower when he's more successful, but he's still got some issues with that serve in terms of.
Some issues is an understatement, man.
Like either hitting 2 first serves or kind of decelerating and missing, like we saw there.
I remember doing an analysis of Zverev's match against Novak when he won the ATP finals for the second time. Or did he? No, sorry. Yeah, he did, sorry, of course. In 2021, when he beat Novak in the semi-finals. And my analysis of the serve was, how do you cover up double faults? By not hitting second serves, basically, is how you cover up double faults. His first serve percentage was about 77% or something like that. And he has days where he can. He wasn't. It's not like he was rolling them in. He has days where he can really, really get first serve after first serve in. Relatively, he's got a really high first serve in percentage, which is why I don't think Fils is going to get a million chances. However, we do have 15-30 here, Vanch. Maybe a semi chance.
Yes. And a very good second point of the game by Fils, really stepping in and using that cross-court forehand. Getting the shorter forehand cross from Zverev and then going big down the line. So has to play assertive tennis like that today, for sure.
Matthew just giving a shout out to our different choices of attire. I am going to take this off. It's pretty warm in Scotland as well. I mean, 20 is not warm compared to San Diego. What would 20 be in San Diego? Fahrenheit, whatever. It's probably warmer there.
Yeah, 68. I mean that's it's definitely way warmer right now for sure.
Yeah. Hold on, give me a second. $20 is tropical for Glasgow. 30 all, couple of points there for Zverev. Finds the backhand, but he pushes it long. There's a good example of a point. The Zverev loses, the other players don't lose. Right, it's a nice deep return. Zverev's so adamant that he isn't getting the forehand into play there that he's standing like 2 feet from the centre line. I mean, you don't play a backhand inside in from there on the first ball. I mean, that's ridiculous. 30-40. Here we go. Big first serve out wide. Fils finds the return. It's backhand cross, though. Another cross. Fils would do well to break out of this rhythm here, but they're still going cross. A little bit stubborn now. Zverev takes the first change in direction. Fils gets it back in play. Still going cross again. Again, Fils not changing direction. He's going cross court all day. He's quite happy to play Zverev in his own game.
He's quite in the backhand cross courts.
Yeah, but eventually does net it.
Eventually he cracks it. These are kind of rallies that actually Zverev wants to get into it. And it's not that Fis's backhand is poor by any stretch of the imagination. It's quite a solid shot, actually. And he did very well. He won a lot of these points against Ruud as well because he earned himself shorter forehands. It's just that Zverev is not going to give you that loopier, shorter ball that he will on the forehand. And he's going to want to hit it straight through the court and be aggressive with it.
It'll be interesting to see how often he just does change direction. Can he go aggressive enough into Zverev's forehand? Because there, I mean, he must have hit about 10 backhands cross before netting the 11th one.
Yeah.
Here we go again, a good rally. Zverev trying to pepper Fis's forehand, probably a bad idea. Had a massive one there. It is back in play. Fils with another forehand, back behind, and it's the winner. That was a lovely point.
That is the textbook play that I had in mind for this. For Fils having success in this match, if he wants to back up the win. I mean,
the electric pace on the penultimate forehand there, that was phenomenal to set up the winner there. Here we go. Break point again to Fils. Interesting to see Zverev does come up with a first serve here. Here we go. I'll talk us through it. Big first serve into the Fils forehand. It must have caught a little bit of a funky bounce because it merited the apology there from Zverev and an unreturnable. I assume, I don't know what the grip of Fils is like, but I imagine it's a little extreme. But you do get a lot of players nowadays with that more extreme grip opting to start with their grip in the forehand side. So that if it does go into the forehand, it's a little harder to rush. You can see Fils is doing that. It does make it a little bit more difficult to rush the forehand than some of the other guys with extreme grips. And they are, going into the backhand and kind of catches Fils off guard.
Yeah. 2 big serves.
Here we go. Game point for Zverev. Does he close it out? Not quite yet. Another second serve. Again, we've not had too many, so interesting to see what happens here. Will it be another double? Here we go. Zverev with the second serve into the Fils forehand. Doesn't quite catch him off guard. Defense, though, for Fils. Good Zverev, +1 there to force the error.
Yeah.
2-love. How are we feeling about the scalps of Feast this week? Obviously, you mentioned Ruud, but a little credit for Lajovic as well. Not a bad
That was a
second
big
round
win.
win,
He was
right?
down in both sets, 3-5 in the first set and 2-4 in the second. So that's certainly a worthy win, especially this year when we consider all the scalps that Lajovic had on clay.
And Galan has his moments. Definitely probably an easier opponent than Lajovic, but still quite impressive. And then Zverev, what about Zverev's scalps? Obviously, Molchan for the third time this season on clay as well. Poor Molchan, I rate him a lot on clay, so that's a shame to come up against Zverev. A pretty bad matchup for him as a lefty in 3 different clay events. And then Martyr and Van Asch as well.
Yeah, Van Asch, he was pushed in the second set against Van Asch. He was 4-1 up, and but eventually Zverev just Zverev's backhand kind of took over the last 3-4 games of that match, and he was able to get the break back. And honestly, also quite a comfortable matchup, just because Van Asch doesn't really have the kind of pace and easy power that Feast has, for instance. So,
yeah.
But it's good to see French tennis on the rise. Of course, these two really talented players, Van Asch and Feast. So far, obviously, I'm higher on Feast just because it's so obvious the kind of talent that he has in terms of the power of both wings. But Van Asch has certainly made quite a lot of strides this year too.
Probably, I would assume the French tennis fans of the world are a little disappointed in the kind of gap in generations. There's not really somebody that comes to mind outside of the obvious older guys that's kind of led the forefront of French tennis for a while. Luca Pouille obviously threatened to do that for a while before a few injuries kind of derailed him. And now it's Feast. That's a fair gap, though. I mean, is there somebody I'm forgetting about between the Monfils era of French tennis and Feast now?
No, I would say we did have kind of a bit of a lost generation. It was unfortunate with Pouille though, because he obviously got to the top 10, and he had made Australian Open semifinals and U.S. Open quarterfinal, Wimbledon quarterfinal. He had some big wins. He beat Rafa in a 5th set tiebreak in 2016, and it's a shame he couldn't really build on that Australian Open semifinal. And injuries, and just dealt with some depression and addiction to drinking at some point. But it was really good to see him have his moment in Roland Garros, and I'm hoping he can actually build on that a bit more. As I'm watching this point, 40 cat and mouse exchange won by Zverev.
That was impressive from Zverev, I gotta say. That was really, really good, actually. And there was a moment there where Feast tried to change direction from the backhand's cross, and it didn't really do much. It's got to be pretty effective to then put Zverev under pressure. This could be tough. It's something I mentioned, if Zverev's playing well enough, getting into those backhand cross exchanges could be really useful. Needs to keep his first serve percent high. I still think there's a chance if that drops, Feast gets into this match, but that's now a double break in the first set.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't the best start, obviously, for Feast in that first game. Came out a little bit nervous. Didn't make a lot of his first serves, and obviously we criticized him a little bit for the shot selection on break point. But also he had a sort of a look in the first Zverev service game when they went into that really long backhand to backhand exchange. Obviously, Zverev coming out on top in that, and once he just played a great game here to break. So.
Here's, by the way, Ghost asking, what's your take on Gaston retiring on match point? That's an FU to the opponent, right? I think I'm pretty much in the same camp as everybody else there, Ghost.
Gotta play the last point.
It's not on. I actually forgot that Gaston had done something choice in the past, obviously, with that Chorich match and dropping the ball.
He also had that incident where he just purposely dropped a ball from his pocket.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. Is that the one? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of tough to stay pro Gaston, I gotta say, despite his game being quite fun to watch.
Sure.
Big first serve slam down the tee, by the way, as Zverev goes 15-love. Could be good night to this set, or maybe we're just waiting for Feast to light up a bit. I'm not sure. He's certainly not keeping the rallies as short as he would like. He's got to be the guy playing aggressive, the guy who's keeping the points short.
Also, it's going to be tough with Zverev having an 82% first serve percentage so far.
There you go.
That's
yeah.
It's not,
that's
many
how
players
you.
in the world who can actually.
That's how you cover
Get
up your
into
weakness.
games.
That's a lovely, lovely move by Zverev there. Backhand down the line approach to then set up an easy put away. I expect there to be a dip here. I do know that sometimes Zverev can have those days. Again, he does have a high first serve in percentage relative to the top 50, so this isn't too abnormal. But there's got to be a few chances where a few first serves get missed. And I honestly think Feast wins like 70% of the second serve return points he plays. I just don't see why he can't be aggressive enough with them. Again, interesting to see what happens here as he has a look at a second serve for the first time in a little while.
He's got to take a few more chances for sure, and he has a lot of built-in margin on that forehand wing that he can play to big targets.
Zverev did find the backhand actually, and Feast trying to keep it deep did miss, so it's 40-love now. So it's going to be quick. I don't expect a whitewash, but Feast needs to get on the board.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned Humbert, by the way. Of course, I wouldn't say he's a generational leader, obviously, of French tennis, but he's certainly up there as the guy that I was, super hyped on. Really, really rated his game. I still rate his game. Don't know how far he can go with it, but
I do as well. He's lost a few close matches between 2021 and now, and if he wins some of those, I feel like those could be major confidence boosters. And he has a very good record against top 10 players, and he plays all of them quite tough. So I'm still pretty high on him. I mean, he's still only 24.
Of course, I forgot that.
He played an excellent match against De Minaur yesterday in Atlanta, and he could well go on and win that title.
Yeah, very hot and cold guy when he's on. He is tough to play. Feast backhand return winner, by the way, to set up 40-30. He is hanging on this game. The other one was also a return, an unreturnable return from Feast. As Zverev's first serve now goes a little awry, even, and it's a second serve. Here we go. Interesting to see if it's a double fault. A little bit of pressure maybe on the German serve. Here we go. He doesn't double fault. Feast gets it back in play. It's backhands cross though, not the best setup to a point for him. And they're going cross court. Feast going big, and then Feast big down the line. Hello.
Yeah, that is what you want to see, because he caught Zverev really off guard there, and actually had to deal with quite a tough bounce on the second serve as well. Basically hit it above his shoulder, but here you see Zverev like totally camped near the doubles alley and expecting another backhand cross, and wasn't even close to getting that one.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we're back at deuce.
Yeah, here we go.
This is the 3 out of the 4 service games so far have gone to deuce. Well, Zverev gets the 3 point there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I was going to say that needed to land in.
Yeah.
Tough now. Advantage for Zverev. First serve when he needed it most. To cement this set, really. Well, never say never. But here we go. Game point for Zverev. Does he take it on the first serve? He does. An ace down the tee. And it's now 4-love for Zverev in the first set.
Yeah.
How do you rate Feast's title earlier in the year, Vanch? Is that a pretty big deal, him winning Lyon quite early in his career? There was a few scalps there that were quite impressive, but I would say overall it was a pretty easy title run. I mean, he had Emer, and that was a default, of course. Yeah, I forgot that. There was an incident
so I think
that went
2
on there.
of his matches were either a retirement or a default.
Yeah,
because I think he or a withdrawal from Felix, I think, as well in the quarters.
Yeah.
So he certainly was helped a little bit by that, but I thought he played a very excellent match when it came down to the crunch, the third set tiebreak against Nakashima, which really could have gone either way. And then the final was impressive because he had a quick had a short turnaround after that match, and then he played very well against Cerundolo, who has one of the best forehands in the world also on clay. So
Yeah,
I rate that as a pretty high scalp overall. But as far as the title holds, this week so far has been more impressive, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Certainly the win over Ruud was ridiculous, I would have said. And to be fair, I rate beating Fran Cerundolo in straight sets in a clay court final. I think that's a pretty big deal. So at the moment, I'd still say that's probably the bigger achievement. If he got through to the final here, I would then say that that surpasses it even, definitely.
Yeah, sure. He also won a couple of challengers earlier this year, and he was outside the top 250, and now he's basically going to be able to play all the Masters events. So be good. Regardless.
Forgot he was outside the top 250 at the start of the year. That's crazy. And when exactly did Ljubicic join the team? I kind of
So I was going to mention this earlier, but actually I read a piece from Simon Chambers from Tennis Majors. It was like an exclusive interview with Ivan Ljubicic, and a lot of it was focused on Federer's retirement and kind of how that came about and what his next chapter is going to be. And he's actually helping the French Federation. He's going to be helping with the younger talent and the just like as a mentor or an advisor. And it's part of an initiative by the FFT, and he's the head of that. So he's been sitting in Fisa's box, and he's been watching a lot of these matches with Van Asch and Fisa this week in Hamburg.
What? Didn't realize that at all. I mean, I guess I rate him as a coach. Obviously, he was part of Roger's team for a while, but to see somebody that esteemed, I guess, join his team that early, I mean, that's a big deal. Obviously, he must rate Fisa a lot. I think it's only good signs. It's pretty exciting. I remember, Vance, just while we're talking about Fisa's season and scalps he's had this year, I remember talking to you after he beat Roberto Bautista Agut at the start of the year in Montpellier, because I think that was the win that had both of us going, oh, hold on, this guy could actually be like insanely good. Because I mean, beating Bautista Agut on a hard court and kind of out backhanding him sometimes, and then coming up with crazy shots on the forehand. I mean, the highlights reel alone was enough for us to go, right, this guy's definitely going to be something, surely.
Yeah, that's like one of those wins that has, against, if you beat a gatekeeper like Bautista Agut is, and who's like kind of like, oh, if you beat him, like, oh, you can be a top 20 player, like that kind of thing. So and especially also in February, where I think most of RBA's best tennis has come in January and February mostly, kind of in that Australian Open period, and then the month after the Australian Open, so like with all those titles in Doha and Auckland and places like that. So that was really a big kind of mark of like, here I am, I'm going to be a top 50 ATP player for sure. So, and then actually he played Sinner, I think, that week, and Sinner beat him there, but it was kind of it was like, okay, we're here with this next 2000s generation, and there's quite a lot of them now. So it'll be interesting to see if they can close the gap between them and Alcaraz, because obviously Alcaraz is next level special, but these players are improving quickly too.
I mean, it's all about how big does that forehand get? Is it a world-beating forehand, or is it just insanely good? It's tough to say at this stage in his career. It's only going to get bigger. Again, I'm not
physically developed already, which is which is rare actually for most players. I mean,
absolutely.
He can still keep growing, but he is quite like muscular and looks physically quite strong to be able to hit 35 winners against Ruud on clay. You gotta have some serious firepower.
Yeah, let's remind everybody he's 19 years old at the moment. Recently turned 19 years old, of course. I believe he won Lyon before he turned 19, so he'd won a title by the time he was 18 years old. All of this sounds quite normal in the face of Carlos Alcaraz, but again, it's not, that's impressive stuff. He he's doing
sure
stuff
the
that
match,
should
by
be.
the way, has been suspended.
Oh,
It's some rain, but they do have a roof here, so I think they'll be closing the roof,
okay,
and then
cool.
we'll have an indoor match.
But they are currently opening it, aren't they? It's like one of those. There you go. I can see it now. It's like a web, basically, isn't it?
This stadium, by the way, is really, really nice. One of my favorite stadiums in tennis. I've never been there, but it's got the feel of like a Masters 1000.
Well, rightly so, Vange. An ex-Masters 1000, of course. Hamburg.
Yeah, for sure. Still 2008, and this is always the tournament that I thought would be the placeholder in terms of a grass 1000, and that would be awesome, of course.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Right, I guess we need to keep everybody a bit entertained while we wait, Vange?
Yeah, for sure.
How about we talk about Zverev? And I mean, him getting to, if he were to beat Fils here, getting to a final of a 500 event, is that the same kind of statement win that getting to the semis of the French Open was? Do we not really rate either of them? Is he the kind of guy that's just going to beat everybody outside of the top 10, but until he can get back to beating top 10 players, we shouldn't really take any notice?
Yeah, obviously we'll see how Fils performs the rest of the way here, and then we can probably say so. But yeah, you're kind of right. I do need to see a little bit more, even if he wins this. If let's say he were to win this match in straight sets or something. Because he is still missing that really, really big win. But as far as like building confidence goes, like he's a contender now to get to the ATP finals, and he's back in the top 10 of the race. So certainly seems to be getting back there, but he still has ways to go in terms of like getting back to the top 5 or like doing some of the things, because this would be his first final since he won the ATP finals in 2021. So
yeah.
He hasn't had many big wins in general since then, even the 6 months before he got injured. Obviously, his best win so far in a major is that Alcaraz win before he played Nadal. That's the best I've ever seen him play, start to finish in a major, even though he's been in a major final before. So that sounds crazy to say, but
of course he was like 0 to 13, I think, losses to top 10 players over best of 5. I mean,
that was his first one, and he barely got by that in the 4th set tiebreak, and obviously he played a phenomenal match. But
it's kind
Alcaraz also missed a backhand that hit the top of the net on set point. It was similar to the one that Djokovic missed on set point in the 2nd set of the Wimbledon final. So that's one of those sliding door moments. If he somehow wins that 4th set, he has all the momentum going into the 5th.
And then Zverev probably doesn't break his foot as well, break his ankle. It's quite mental. And I didn't realise we were going to be getting started so quickly, by the way. It's not like Wimbledon's roof. It just like gets
that
closed.
was a quick job by the team. They were fast with that. It's like 5 minutes.
And Zverev's service game was also pretty quick. That's a hold to 15 and 5-1 for Zverev at the moment. Fils looking to hang on in the set, but probably going to go quite quickly from him. We'll look to regroup in the second, probably.
That was a really quick service game. That's actually the first really quick service game he's had.
Yeah.
So far. So that was his first serve percentage is really high right now. I think that's when he gets really hard to stop, of course, indoors. Kind of in those Madrid conditions as well, and ATP finals conditions. That's where he's played his best tennis historically.
I wonder if it does play like indoor conditions, fans. It's quite hard to say.
And I think with the clay under his feet, he's probably even more comfortable, I would say, just moving and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Fils, but then might help him a little bit, just with a little bit of, front foot aggression, get the first serve popping a little bit more, a few more chances in the forehand. Here we go, case in point, as he blasts one into the corner to force the error from Zverev's backhand. That's the kind of pattern of play I would like to see a little bit more of. Just a little bit of time in the forehand. That's what he needs.
Yeah.
Interesting. You said that you said the best match you'd seen Zverev play in a major. Sorry, from start to finish. Yeah, that's probably right. I would say contenders for the best level I've seen from Zverev, full stop. This is ironic, actually, because he started the match really badly. He lost the first set to Novak in the Olympics 6-1. And then when he did eventually raise his level, his forehand and backhand were on par with each other. Like, he was really, really going for both wings.
Yeah.
And Novak couldn't really live with it anymore. Like, it was that high a level, which is obviously tough to do against him. He has that peak. You just don't see it that often. I feel like the forehand really, as you say, is way more passive than it should be. The second serve, obviously, is always going to be a weakness, but he didn't have to hit that many second serves. So, yeah, when he's playing his best, he's pretty unplayable, actually.
Yes. I do remember that Olympics match quite well. From a set and a breakdown, he was almost unplayable in the last two sets. And it took one slight dip from Djokovic, where he took the pedal off the gas, but that's all it really took. It was like he just needed an inch, and then Zverev was able to play super freely from there.
And Zverev return goes long, so we are 5-2. Zverev still with the double break, though, so he will have a couple of chances, even if he does give up the advantage in this service.
I think
game.
there was one Madrid tournament, I think it was 2018, where he faced like one break point or something crazy in like 5 matches.
Yeah, there's Jake Davies in the comments just mentioning that there, Vanch, actually.
Yeah, 2018, I think it was when that was the first one that he won.
Team in the final, maybe?
Yeah, Team in the final.
Oh, Team. Would be nice to see him back in Masters finals, wouldn't it? Poor guy. That must have been one of Zverev's only wins against Team, right? I remember his matchup being pretty poor against Dominic.
Yeah. I think both of his wins have come in Madrid on clay in 2018 and 2021. Obviously, 2021, that's when we started to see Team kind of... he was already kind of getting back. He was on his way downwards at that point, even though he made the semis of that tournament. But he's also beaten him, I think, in Beijing in 2016, and then once this year on grass in Halle. But yeah, for the most part, the Team had a huge head-to-head advantage in that one. I think it's 8-4 overall.
8-4, wow. And of course, who could forget their US Open final in 2020? Almost skirted over that there, Vanch. That was close. Zverev actually was close to winning it, even not because of the 2 sets to love lead, because of the break in the fifth and 30
multiple chances.
Yeah,
I mean a break in the third. He was serving for it at 5-3 in the fifth, and then I think twice 2 points away from winning 6-all in the fifth set tiebreak. That was one of the nerviest watches ever in a final. Both players were so tight.
I swear, in hindsight, I reckon not having the crowd there probably impacted it a little bit as well. It's almost like you're just playing in your local club almost. Yeah.
To not be able to draw any energy from them, in such a big moment, like it's and Team just felt so empty and so relieved when he had won it, and it was just like a decade of hard work. Quite understandably,
And that's what he cites.
Motivation.
Of course, that's what he cites. Yeah, I was going to say that, Vanch. That's what he cites as his dip in motivation. That's the reason he kind of lost his way a little bit, which is, it's hard for us mere mortals to totally understand.
Ghost's question, I think Beijing is happening as well. So is the entire Asian swing for the first time since 2019.
So to clarify, Vanch, will we have Shanghai then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is going to be one of those 11 to 12 day Masters for the first time.
They're quite an effort, aren't they?
Which I don't think many people are happy with, including myself. I do kind of prefer the 1 week ones, but I guess maybe in a couple of years we'll get used to them. And
Is that every Masters this year has been that length? Was Monte Carlo that length?
Yeah, Monte Carlo, and then we do have Cincy in Canada, which are 1 weeks, until 2025. So we'll see. But I mean, so far we have Monte Carlo and Paris at least. I mean,
It's kind
one
of
of them is a non-mandatory Masters, and the other is the last one at
Yeah.
the end of the year. When, a lot of
At
players
the-
are tired, but
At the end of the day, Vance, it's like the equivalent of getting your meal supersized at a restaurant, really, isn't it? And being like, I don't want that much food. Like,
yeah, and
you don't have to eat
I
it
think
all.
also like for the WTA, it's like there isn't that much of a difference anymore between like winning Rome and winning the French Open, because it's like one is a 96 player draw and one is a 128 player draw, but one could conceivably win 7 matches in 12 days versus 7 matches in 14 days at a major, and it's just like there's not that much difference because they're both playing best of 3. Whereas for the men, at least you have the best of 5 component, so it's just
Oh yeah. But then there's motivation, isn't there? And obviously, like Swiatek pulled out of that match against Rybakina, and she'd never have done that at the French Open. It was because of the French Open she actually pulled out of it. So yeah, there's definitely a different feel about it for sure. But I do get your point.
She's also making the point, I think, Swiatek, that even on the off days, even if you're not playing, it's like physically exhausting because you have to go through the same routines that you basically go through in a major. And she actually would prefer to like not have a day off in between.
Yeah. By the way, Zverev closed that set 6-2 in the end.
82% first serves in. That is that's tough to stop when Zverev is starting like that. It's 60% of his second serve points. In fairness, he didn't hit many second serves, but still, that's those are some serious serving numbers, and that takes away a lot of pressure. Especially, I thought that game at 1-0 for him to consolidate that break. If Feast breaks back there, I think we have a much more competitive set. But Zverev was just pretty good, too good after that, really. So,
yeah, as again, I mentioned it at the start of the stream, but for those that weren't there, Zverev can produce these numbers on first serve quite frequently, actually. So it's not a total fluke. I'm not totally certain his serving numbers are going to dip drastically. So yeah, Feast could be out the running here.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's
watching see how this starts the second set.
Yeah, I was going to say, just watching this first point here from Feast, and does spray a forehand long, so I'll immediately love 15 on the Feast serve. I'll talk us through the second one, because if this service game runs away from Feast, this match could be over quickly. Big first serve out wide, Zverev gets it back. Oh, no, he doesn't, sorry. He doesn't get it back in play, and it's 15-0, so big point there. A little bit of a cheap service point for maybe the first time in the match. I can't remember another time that Feast's serve was getting unreturned like that.
Yeah, Zverev is also doing a really good job of making Feast play several shots after the serve and just making returns generally. Aside from that miss. That's something where Feast was just red hot yesterday against Ruud, and Ruud was just blown off the court, really. It's different kind of matchup with the length. This backhand.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the thing, Vance. Do we find out that Feast is one of those guys who can just light up every so often, not quite to a sort of Chappell level? Or do we find out that his forehand has consistent high margin aggression to it that is going to be sustainable for years and years to come, and several big wins? But I don't know. Probably I'm more likely to go with the latter, because it's a pretty heavy shot that looks like he can get a lot of rotation on it rather than hitting it flat as a pancake. But yeah, tough to say.
And it kind of makes sense when you look at his results that all of his best stuff has come in France, where he has the crowd support, and and indoors and clay mainly, I would say, so far. So it kind of makes sense because he has the kind of all round explosive offensive mentality that would be good indoors. Just first strike tennis, take the ball super early, be inside the baseline, come forward, use the forehand, and then he has quite a good clay court forehand as well. So it's a good combination.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if you can just like the week to week consistency. That's what I'm curious about, like backing up week wins.
It's interesting to look at like last week's result in Gstaad when he lost to Dominic Stricker. That kind of loss, another
couple
guy.
Tie breaks, right?
Yeah, a couple of tie breaks. Another guy, I guess, able to avoid Fies's forehand better than most, maybe, given Stricker is a lefty. And that's the one thing I would say, I suppose. But also, might just be another guy that's he's just not been quite consistent enough, given his peak and his power. We'll see. We will see what happens as Fies's career develops. But I'm torn between the two. I really have no idea if Fies is going to be top 10 or if he's going to kind of float about the 30 mark as one of those guys you can just peak on his day.
Yeah, I think I feel confident in saying he's going to be top 20 at some point, but top 10, yeah. The jury is still out, like when exactly or if he'll actually get there, but
yeah,
certainly has
that's the potential, right?
For sure. Yeah. The potential is definitely there.
Juice point here, by the way. This is a pretty big moment for Fies. Can he hold serve here? I'll talk us through the next couple of points just to see if Fies can get his foot into this set. Misses the first serve, so it is a second serve. And it's a second serve to Zverev. Backhand. Immediately establishes that backhand cross. In fact, Fies just wasn't interested. Tried to go too big on the first ball and does spray the backhand long, so it's a break point.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be tough for Fies in these kind of matchups where he's going to need to be a lot more patient when he's trading and not have the
second serve here as well.
The stream just cut off.
Oh, that's all right. I can talk us through it in the meantime. Vanch, that's another backhand sprayed long from Fies as Zverev immediately finds the Fies backhand. That is going to be 1-love to Zverev, a break advantage in this set. That was quite cheap. And exactly what you said there, needs to be a bit more patient, needs to be willing to trade just for a little longer. Immediately when Zverev found the backhand. Yeah.
Those last 2 points were telling him. And that way he's got to make Zverev play a little more.
Yeah. So, poor, I would say. I'm liking Ghost's hot take, by the way. We can discuss that as they both acclimatise to what looks like very windy conditions. Lehechka, Fies, Shelton will compete to make the new Big Four with Rune, Alcaraz, Sinner. I think out of those three, I'm probably the biggest on Lehechka, I've got to say. I think Lehechka's game at its best could be very, very good. Still a few sort of screws to tighten, but overall, it's looking like
still remain quite high on. I still remain quite high on Korda.
Yeah.
Even though he obviously had a disappointing loss at Wimbledon, but obviously the January he was able to put together and just kind of the peak that he's shown us when he's been healthy makes me think that he can be a top 10 player as well. But he has to get physically stronger and avoid these kind of start and stops.
Yeah.
And cut out those, losses, like the one against Vesely. Even though Vesely is a really good player, and that's a tough draw, but still expect at some point Korda to start winning those matches more often.
I was pretty surprised he lost it. There were moments that Korda could have taken, definitely. It was one of those matches. It was all about pressure points, and eventually Vesely did take it. I mean, he's a grass court player, really. Big lefty serve. It's going to be hard for even the best returners in the world to get their foot in the door in that matchup, to be fair. Yeah. I think Korda, as a returner, is one of the best American men's tennis players we've seen in years and years. So I would just wait and see what else he can do as he, in fairness, recovers from a pretty difficult injury. I think maybe we were expecting a little bit too much of him too early.
Yeah, for sure. But he did play a very high level in Queens and made that semifinal against Alcaraz, and he had those good wins against Nori, and then I think he gave that press conference where he was like, okay, I feel good, I'm a contender at Wimbledon. And maybe he said that a bit too early and probably got a little bit too much spotlight in the moment, and then obviously he had people coming back after he lost, but But I think that this stretch could be key for him. He's never been past the second round of the U.S. Open. A lot of that has been health related too. So
here we go, by the way, Vanch. So last couple of points. No way that's out, Liani. Come on. Never mind. Thought we were 1540, but I believe it's getting overruled.
I thought so as well, but looks like that was long. That's tough because Zverev actually gave him a couple of gifts in this game, but
still a half chance here. Still a half chance, and there was a double fault, by the way, to give 15-0, and then a pretty cheap point after that. Fils maybe giving a little bit of pressure here, although it's a great first serve, and a very good 1-2 from Zverev, to be fair.
Yeah. Right now, Zverev is just really comfortable in this matchup because he's getting the freebies on the serve, and he's able to be effective on the +1, and he's also just winning a lot of those neutral baseline rallies where he's getting Fils to hit more backhands and he's drawing the errors.
Pretty much every time they've went backhands cross, there's been a few points where I've been pretty impressed with the resistance, but overall it's been fairly cheap. I didn't totally expect that, I'll be honest. I think, again, because of that Batista-Gu match, I was like, he'll be fine in the longer backhand rallies, but there was a lot of crazy forehands in that match, and I think he was just taking advantage of every opportunity he got, whereas Zverev's not giving him any opportunities to attack with a forehand, really.
Also, I feel like because Batista-Gu, although he's really consistent, he's also very kind of like he's not the most creative player, so you kind of know what you're getting in terms of those backhand to backhand cross, and it's like kind of a reliable hit point every single time, and he doesn't really mix it up a ton. Whereas I feel like with Zverev, he's got more of a heaviness. And if the ball is really jumping on these courts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not a flat backhand, right? It's Zverev's is like so much heavier, where Batista-Gu's is definitely less potent in this sort of surface. Obviously, it was hard courts that they played on, but
it's
maybe
the word that I used to use to describe RBA. It's like, I used to think like he was like a metronome, like he was metronomic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like it was very much just like, because I remember him and Medvedev, they practiced for like 2 weeks in the Australian Open lead up to 2021, and they were practice partners during that time where it was like Australian Open was held in February and there was all those COVID rules and it was like that funky Australian Open, but he chose Batista-Gu as his practice partner. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Like that's a guy you want to practice with. Just trade backhand cross courts with for like 30 minutes straight.
That's the match that Medvedev and RBA had last year in Astana. That was just mad. That was like 6-1, 6-2 or something like that. Maybe it was 2 breadsticks actually. Yeah. And I did a stat afterwards. Medvedev hit.
It's crazy.
He hit 300 ground strokes and he made 3 unforced errors.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I remember that. That was I saw that stat. That was that was a good fight, but like that's
it's unreal.
He has matches like that against RBA, and like he's the 2 matches that he's won have been like really one-sided, and he always has like that one loss every year.
Yeah,
usually on grass in the quarters.
Yeah,
which is like
Fils, by the way, a couple of amazing 1-2 punches on the serve there, and a lovely backhand down the line. That's probably, and I think Zverev might be challenging it, but no, he's not. Sorry, so it is a hold to 15, I should say, to get Fils on the board here.
Just a couple of sloppy service games really have made the difference. I mean, Fils 40-30 up in the first game and lets a forehand goes way too big down the line when I think it would have been safer to go cross court. And then of course those 2 backhand errors from deuce and breakpoint, and it makes a big difference when you're down love 2 versus hold to start the second. But we'll see. This match certainly isn't over yet, and all it really takes is just one little drop off in serving from Zverev and a couple of good aggressive forehands, and you can still be back in this match.
We'll see. Certainly, I'm not writing them off quite yet. Again, one sloppy service game from Zverev. I feel like the first serve in percentage is high, but as the pressure mounts a little bit, it does tend to go down. So if the scoreboard gets a little tighter, then we'll probably start to see a few chances develop from maybe 30-all, 15-all, whatever. So first few points for Zverev are crucial basically in every service game.
Yeah, totally. Scoreboard pressure is very key. When you're playing a player like this who serves well but also defends well, and yeah, that's kind of the prototype, right? Big serving counterpunchers.
Yeah.
In the ATP Tour.
Yeah.
Interesting though that he's he started out against Medvedev when Medvedev was hyper aggressive and played a very different brand of tennis to what we know since the summer of 2019. And he was 4-0 against that version of Daniil. And since the beginning of 2019, Medvedev is 9-2 against him. And they have pretty similar styles, but just Medvedev is a little bit more unpredictable, a little bit mixes things up a bit more. He's just does everything a teeny bit better. And makes things a bit more awkward for Zverev in the backhand to backhand exchanges. He's able to keep the ball really, really low.
Yeah. In fairness to Zverev, I think he deals with the backhand okay. Certainly, obviously, his backhand's great. Probably, rivaling definitely most in the world for one of the best. But yeah, you're right. Medvedev definitely just a pain in the ass for Zverev, really, at the end of the day. There's just so many things he does that drives him nuts.
Yeah. Right.
That three wins this year, 2 wins this year? Monte Carlo and Indian Wells, right?
Yeah, the Monte Carlo and Indian Wells ones, extremely tight, obviously, both very tense and dramatic matches where he had to come back from a set down. But certainly conditions where I thought going in would favor Zverev a bit more, slower, kind of clay court, heavier conditions.
Yeah.
Monte Carlo and Indian Wells, but yeah, obviously those matches were
wild.
Yeah, to say the least. Obviously, they got the Monte Carlo match became really contentious afterwards and stuff. But
yeah,
quite a lot of friction in those Medvedev Tsitsipas Zverev rivalries. Kind of polar opposite of the big three.
Yeah. By the way, 40 Love goes to 40-15 as Feast rifles a return back to the baseline.
Just like the quarters language. Yeah, I mean, I just like him. I like his game overall. Just like he's very smooth to watch, and he's got a lot of compact stroke production, which is just easy on the eye, and he likes to come forward. And obviously, he's got an athletic family, and just in terms of like potential, I feel like he has top 10 level potential, but he's just still got to put a lot of things together, and I haven't seen enough consistency yet. But the highs have been really high, of course, and I do think he's gotten a bit more physically stronger as well, and that'll help. But
yeah, I still think he can get some massive scalps. Honestly, I mean, he had chances. Maybe Ghost is really referring to that Indian Wells match he had against Nadal, where he was a double break up and lost from a winning position. Basically, he'll iron that out.
Yeah.
I think he will.
And he played a very good match against Djokovic in Adelaide, and actually won the first set despite serving for it and getting broken. And he had one championship point, but it was Djokovic who actually hit a pretty good overhead to save it. So
yeah, I forgot about that match. That match was great. I wouldn't say that was Korda's necessarily to win. The championship point was definitely saved rather than lost.
Yes,
100%.
Like him and Djokovic and Tsitsipas, like those were the three best players in January. So,
I mean, if you're bothering Novak down under, you're a quality player. That's basically.
Yeah, and then of course he had that big win against Medvedev, of course. But then he backed it up with Hurkacz, 5th set tie break. So I thought things were really starting to come together, but then fortunately injured his wrist and that quarterfinal with Khachanov, which was competitive for a set and a half.
We are currently at a point in the match where it could go completely the way as Zverev, by the way. But Feast comes out with a drop shot to get to 30-all. That was really nice, actually. Very, very good touch. Out of nowhere, really.
Great field, yeah. because actually he hasn't gone to that shot very often today. Like this might be the first time he's actually gone to a.
Yeah, I can't remember another one.
Because I know Zverev has gone to it twice, and he won both those points. And they weren't excellent droppers, but Fils was just way behind the baseline.
Yeah. I gotta say, Zverev's doing a really good job of pretty much completely avoiding run-around forehands. We're getting one of the first ones we've seen in the match there from Fils to go to 40-30.
Yes.
I've not seen many from him at all.
Yeah, he's been doing a really good job of keeping Fils kind of in backhand jail, and like avoiding that pattern of those heavy inside outs and inside in pinners, which Wu did not do a great job of yesterday.
Yeah. To say that's the route play. That's if he can find a forehand in the doubles alley, then he's odds on to win the point. But
yeah,
I guess Fils was just playing a better version.
The big key in this matchup also is like the backhand down the line, because you want to be able to get the weaker ball off the forehand and then go to the backhand wing. And I just feel like that's been missing, of course, and of course the first serve. It's really like the first serve and the backhand where I feel like Zverev has really separated himself so far.
Definitely. Good way to close that game there, though, as we go 3-2. Zverev still with the single break. Fils keeping himself alive, still not out of this. Again, a little bit of scoreboard pressure. Could mount and maybe challenge Zverev in a service game, but we will need to see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So I think Zverev has been in many semifinals actually, but he's not actually closed one out yet. So, maybe some of those thoughts might start to creep in this last 2 or 3 service games, and you never know. A few more second serves, a few more chances.
A few more second serves definitely means a few more chances. We'll see. Yeah. We've got a few questions in the comments, by the way, if you want to take one on. Fans, we're getting asked what will Medvedev do to counteract the Alcaraz game.
That's $1 million question, because I mean we all saw the Indian Wells matchup, and what a demolition and masterclass it was from Carlitos. But then we thought that Medvedev is going to make a few adjustments. He'll adjust, even though it's grass. We still would have thought, okay, maybe we'll see a few more tie breaks, we'll see a few closer sets. But no, it was basically the same match again. It was a blowout for 3 sets, and I thought the third set was going to get more competitive, but really it was 75% Alcaraz losing focus rather than Medvedev actually elevating his level. But we'll see. It's like really hard, because when he tried to step in and stand closer on the baseline with his return position, like it didn't work in the first set, and Alcaraz won 4 straight first serve points.
He doesn't play from there. He doesn't play from there. So I'm just like, why would he do it?
I mean, and he did it, I think, in the 4th set tiebreak against Eubanks late in that match, and was able to get some effect. But the problem is whenever he does it against Alcaraz hits that body serve and just jams him up.
Yeah.
Right on the... And Medvedev's just not able to get the ball back into play. And then I think he also has issues on his own serve as well. His second serve gets bullied by Alcaraz, and Alcaraz is able to just take it early and basically play return +1 on many of the big points, which is
it's just
losing battle. It's just
it's just a great example of. I was gonna say it's a great example of offense totally trumping defense. Yeah. Really, it's pretty difficult for Medvedev to do much about it when he's that far back against that kind of power. I would say he has a better chance indoors. I mean, he's not played him on his ideal hard court yet. That's the one thing I'd say. And his backhand wouldn't get too bullied, maybe. But honestly, I rated Medvedev more in that match at Wimbledon, and Alcaraz just absolutely thwomped him. So I don't know if there's much I can say, really. I think it's just a bad matchup.
It is, yeah.
Again, you have to think about how far back Medvedev is sitting. How on earth is he going to put Alcaraz under any pressure? It's like, it's
and
very
it's like
difficult
Alcaraz
in a rally.
There's a million options on the +1. Like he can serve in volley, he can serve in hit a drop volley, he can hit behind Medvedev, he has the open court. Like there's just a million things that Alcaraz can do, and he'll just do it on every single point, basically. Especially with the deuce serve on the do serve wide, then you have so much more court to work with. At least on the ad side, maybe Medvedev can get into a few more baseline exchanges. But, Carlitos is also willing to play patient tennis from his backhand side a lot more this year, and we've seen him play a lot more controlled offense. So it's tough. Like, his game is so complete.
Yeah.
Versus against Novak, I kind of feel like Novak is the one who's forced a lot of those longer exchanges to come up with different kind of creative finishes and use his variation, like especially with serve and volley or with some slice backhands. For Alcaraz, that game plan comes naturally. So that's where the matchup difference is really kind of. I think I don't know. There was someone who said this on Twitter, but I think a lot of people were thinking this, that if those semifinals had been reversed, we would have actually seen really competitive matches with Alcaraz versus Sinner and Djokovic Medvedev. Because with those matches, I've seen the head-to-heads go back and forth quite often.
This is a great service game from Feast, by the way, just to draw us back to the match for a second. That rally there from 40-30, fantastic. Actually drew the error off of a really kind of high bouncing forehand from Feast that Zverev was forced to take up a little higher. Maybe sort of getting it out of or varying the contact point of Zverev on the forehand could bring him a bit of joy. It's so tough to get into those longer rallies though and come out on top without Zverev kind of imposing the backhand cross. So it'll be interesting to see what
tactics he uses. You want to keep those deuce forehand to forehand as much as you possibly can, because you saw Zverev like just drop back in his court position, and especially on the last ball, like that forehand just got away from him and it was shorter, and Feast had something to work with.
Yeah.
The problem though for Feast has been that Zverev has done an excellent job of, whenever he's lost points like this, boom, first serve, 3 point.
Yeah.
And he's gone to the T serve on the deuce, catching Feast off guard many times, then getting a lot of free points that way. Feast actually did a good job getting the return back there.
He did, yeah, but actually had a chance on the forehand there in terms of defense, and unfortunately sprays it long, so it is 4-2 to Zverev.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, hasn't really been asked the questions yet that a top 10 player would ask of Zverev, but so far he's playing well, for sure.
So I know that Vance will know the answer to that question. Can anybody in the comments give us a... Oh, there you go. Matthew's already come out with the correct answer. Of course, me and John had the pleasure of seeing it live. It's quite good.
Yeah. That was a great moment, especially because we all are big fans of Liam, and also just, how hard he's worked and how open he's been about the struggles of, playing on the Challenger Tour. And he's one of those feel-good stories that you want to see, having a mid-career breakthrough, kind of like a Chris Eubanks or Alexander Vukic, Karatsev, players like that who've just toiled at the Challenger level for 5 or 6 years.
That
was a good moment.
Yes, it was, yeah. A good point, by the way, from Feast, again, using a drop shot under pressure. To be fair, it didn't quite get him out of trouble. He had a lot to do on the backhand to then force the volley error from Zverev. But he comes up with the goods. Pretty good point from him.
Yeah, for sure.
And a first serve wide sets up another drop shot opportunity, but he does miss this one. 15-30 now. Teetering on the edge of going out of this match, Vanch.
Yeah, he's just being forced to try to come up with something special, and there maybe wasn't the right time to go for it. It's 15-all, and you want to make sure you build a bit of a lead before you try something like that.
Nice,
a bit desperate, but lucky for him, he got the ace. So that's a rarity for sure today.
Here we go, big point at 30-all. Can he keep himself in the match following that ace? Clips the net, so it is a let. And again, can he do something to keep himself alive? It's really about the next game, but can he keep himself alive here at the very least? First serve, out wide. You could tell with the toss there. has a forehand cross-court opportunity. Trading forehands cross, does go down the line. Sneaks in with, a lovely approach and then an easy volley put away. Well, easy-ish. I think I'd have fluffed that one, but...
Yeah. Again, that's the play right there that we saw from him in the last service game. Before Zverev came up with a couple of big serves. We just get that forehand into play, take off a little bit of the pace, and use more height, and try to get Zverev 5-6 feet behind the baseline so you get a shorter ball and then go down the line on the approach.
Yeah, he's going heavier, isn't he? He's going heavier into the forehand rather than looking for the winner, which is probably the smart move.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, here we go. Big juice point. I'll talk us through this one. Can he get it? Feast goes wide again. It's quite readable, isn't it? It's like the toss is so far over. I'll keep an eye out for that. Anyway, second serve to the Zverev backhand, gets himself a +1 opportunity and nets it. What's that about, Feast? It's a break point, I'm afraid. That was cheap as chips.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just not good enough.
As free as Frites. And it is break point. Can he save it? I'll talk us through what could be virtual match point. I don't like using that, but first serve into the body of Zverev draws the immediate error. Nice little change up there. So we're back to juice. Here we go. Feast going for the T serve. Misses it. Second serve here. Zverev, with a pretty similarly cheap shot there into the net. So Feast does stay alive for one more point in this service game. At least advantage.
Zverev surprised that he missed that shot, for sure.
Yeah, it was a backhand return, definitely his bread and butter. It's a lovely defense from Zverev, actually. Going for the lob. Oof. It's quite nice. It's a good lob, in fairness to Zverev.
Oh wow, that's really good defense right there. And that was going to be tough for Arthur to get the overhead on that.
Yeah, it was well crafted, actually. Don't see that too often from Zverev. I don't think that's too much of a disservice.
Yeah.
Big serve out wide enough to set up another forehand. He's looking for the inside in. He got it. Great defense again from Zverev. Feast going down the line. Another lob to deal with. He's got time in the overhead this time, and he deals with it perfectly. No Novak smash for Feast.
Wow, yeah, and he has one of the best overheads amongst the young players that I've seen because he's so athletic. He's got a really big jump, and he's like just kind of that explosive movement and instincts to come forward are good. I've actually seen him hit more swing volleys and overheads than I have regular put away volleys, which is interesting.
You don't see a ton of the men doing that. Definitely it's more prevalent in the women's game. Blinda Bencic comes to mind.
Yeah, for sure. But if you're able to take those balls in the air, and be decisive on them, that's in big moments, that's key. So
Medvedev does it a lot, actually. Medvedev does that shot a lot.
Yes.
Big fan of it. Normally makes me cringe, actually, when I see it. But, if you're hitting it well, it's probably a good sign your forehand's doing well in that tournament. Certainly Medvedev was doing it a lot in Rome when his forehand was, golden.
Yes.
Anyway, it's enough to get the service hold. So it is now 4-3 to Zverev. Just the one break remains. A few spotty moments there, so good for Feast to survive. Keep in mind the big first serve into Zverev's body. Vance just to change it up a little bit on break point. Smart time to do it.
Yes. And go for the Whites go for the serve down the tee or serve body, and make Zverev hit forehand returns under pressure. I like this strategy.
Yeah. In the chat, they're trying to guess which member of Talking Tennis was drinking red wine out of the bottle at Wimbledon. I'll give you one hint. They were Scottish. It was good fun. I really enjoyed it. And I was drinking red wine while watching Mira Andreeva defeat Xinyu Wang, I think. It was very good. Well, that is a crazy shot, Vange. What is that? Have you just seen that?
My word. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but I think he's lost the point, right?
He has. Yeah, he has. That's crazy. You don't see that often. And you don't see it often with that much air on it. That was mad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Loads of backspin. Oh my goodness.
I don't know actually. Did Feast touch it?
Actually, I really thought that Zverev would have lost that point, but that's, oh my goodness. Yeah, they're just showing the replay.
Did Feast touch it, and he lost because he touched the net, or did he?
Yeah, he touched the net.
Did he get a racket on the ball though?
Yeah, he did, but he
touched the net.
He touched the net before it bounced.
Jesus, I've not seen many punts like that. That was very cool.
But we saw both players just laugh it off and high five with the net, and now he's got to get back to work. He's good passing shot there.
Yeah, very good passing shot from Feast there to bring up 15-all. A first serve into the body, not really that aggressive, but Feast with a slice going wide. You just can't, I'm afraid. That's not going to cut it. 2 shots into the rally.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't get the footwork right also on that backhand.
Yeah.
It's kind of reaching for the slice.
Missed forehand return as well. No way he's going to be happy with that. Maybe the return game of Feast is the area that we'd look at.
With it was a bit slower of a first serve from Zverev, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And
he's had more time on that return, and that's why he's so mad that he missed it.
It was in the Feast strike zone, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he's 13 for 17 on personal points as Zverev. He's 13 for 22.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like he's been challenged that much.
Yeah. I mean, we saw him get, face 2 break points so far, Zverev, but...
Oh, did Feast break a string?
Yeah. Feast breaks the string on the return, but now he's getting a new racket.
A little bit of time for Zverev to think about his second serve. Maybe actually will benefit Feast a little bit. Who knows? Here we go. Second serve. That wasn't a second serve, was it? Either way, he's in the rally. Backhand's cross. Goes down the line, Zverev. And it's enough, actually, to draw the error. Good time to change direction. So it's 5-3 now. What happened in that point, Vange? If you break a string when returning... Do you?
Yeah.
Is it a let?
Did he get the first serve?
Well, I don't know. I don't know for sure. It was quite a big serve. It looked like it was a first serve. Sometimes Zverev does go big on second, to be fair, but I don't know.
So I think it's new balls now.
Oof, new balls. Probably not to the advantage of Feast, I would have said. Although, again, if he misses a few first serves, actually, Zverev, that's all advantage Feast. So if he feels the pressure of the moment, maybe we see some flashy returns.
Ghosty asked me about Noma. Yeah, Noma was quite the story this weekend in Hamburg, getting through her matches against Storm Hunter and
Trevisan?
They won yesterday as well. She's a young German rising player, 19-year-old. Yes, I do like her game for clay, especially because it's quite high margin on the forehand. It's really it's got a lot of good topspin and RPM, and she can also flatten the ball out on her backhand wing. And yeah, she seems quite comfortable moving as well. So she's another one of those players that could be in the top 50 at some point.
Yeah, you always want to, even top 50, it's like there's no guarantee. But yeah, with a lot of these talented players, it's very hard to see a player like that and go, oh, top 20, top 10, which is why Feast is quite exceptional. You know, I'm looking at this guy and his forehand's insanely big. It is the kind of weapon that can get you to the top 20 for sure. So yeah, it's tough to say that about these players, up and comers.
Yeah, for sure. And having a big forehand is just so important. Just especially, you want even some of the best backhands in the world. Like that's not the shot that does the most damage. It's just, relative to the forehand, obviously, always. So you want your forehand to be a big weapon.
Yeah, the backhand has got to be something extra special for it to be something that takes you to the top of the game.
Otherwise, I hate to use this example, but then you'll be like a Benoit pair, where you just have to rely on hitting a lot of inside-out backhands.
Yeah, inside-out backhand. He's about the only guy you really see doing that frequently. Yeah. Maybe Zverev does it quite a lot actually, but nothing like nothing
and
like
Medvedev, and Medvedev as well. But those players have have the big serve, and they can be offensive on their forehands as well. So yeah,
Medvedev, he did. So yes, he did touch it, and then let's see. Yeah, touched the net only just before the second bounce. Actually,
yeah,
that's rough.
only just before the double bounce.
Yeah. That would have been a phenomenal get because I don't know if you have to play tennis to recognize that being on the dead run, getting up to the net, stopping and touching the ball on the other side without touching the net obviously must be a superhuman athletic effort.
The best that I've seen someone do and actually avoid it was this point between de Minaur and Sonego. I think it was in Eastbourne in 2021 where literally you just see de Minaur holding the racket on top of the net and just about to trip basically because he's right about to hit the net with his foot.
Yeah.
And then he's just falling backwards and he actually comes back and wins that point. It was insane.
I don't think I've seen that before actually. That's crazy. Zverev serving for the match. Overhead on the first point is enough to force the error. So 15-love immediately. No scoreboard pressure for Zverev from the first point. Probably enough to loosen him up for the rest of the service game.
Yeah, that's huge. Especially when you're serving for your biggest final since Madrid of 2022.
Yeah.
You win the first point, 15-love.
Madrid of 2022, Vange?
Yeah, I think that's the one where he lost to Alcaraz in the final, right?
So it was. I forgot he was in that final, of course. Totally forgot. Nice little point from Feast.
Wasn't a memorable final though because
no. 3-1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. Nice little approach
from
good
job
Feast.
Coming in, behind the big forehand.
It's not totally coincidental that the best players in the world, with the best backhands in the world, also aren't the greatest net players. I mean, these guys with big forehands, great at getting to the net and then putting the point away. For Zverev and Medvedev, it's not as crucial a skill. So
yes.
Or maybe it's the lack of forehand, because obviously Tsitsipas has a great forehand. His net play's pretty damn good, actually. I really like Tsitsipas's net game. Yeah, so it's about the forehand, I guess.
He was trying to go down the line on the return. But...
make him play, right? You got to make him play, I would say. Zverev is prone to feeling the pressure sometimes. I think get him into I don't know.
You got to
Actually,
get Zverev in a position where his arm is a little tight right now. Because...
Here we go. Makes the return. Feast with the chance to go aggressive on a forehand. Doesn't quite connect with it as well as he would have liked. Funny bounce, I think. I think it was. So it's 30-all. Here we go. Does the arm get tight now, Vanch?
That's the big question. I mean, we'll see if he has to hit a second serve here, right?
Yes,
we'll know.
That's what we want to see. Can he live up to the test? Here we go. 30-all. Zverev serve. Serving for the match. First final in a year and a bit. Does he make it? He does. Feasts. Oh my goodness, Vanch. Have you just seen that?
I have. Zverev tried to go for the swing on the forehand volley there, and he just a lot of arm there. Not the best forehand volley.
So he made the serve. The return was floating.
That was tight for sure.
It was. He went for the drive volley and skins the net and goes out.
Yeah.
So it's break point.
He didn't really commit to it either. And...
Oh my god. It's a good serve. It's a good serve, Vanch, to then save the break point. But I mean, what was the kick on that? Like, Jesus Christ, how high up did... I don't know if that was the kick or if it was the court, because it looked like it was a flat serve.
216K, but man, that really jumped up.
Yeah, it jumped up to like above Feast's head by the time he made contact with it.
Yeah, underturned serves. 46% of Zverev's serves in this match have been underturned. That's a huge number.
It is. Of course, he hasn't been broken. This is a second serve, though, at Juice Vanch. Does the second serve go into play? How slow will it go?
The first serve was a let, right?
Oh, it might have been. I'm never privy to that when it happens. Yeah, it was, Vance. You're right, it was. So he did make the first serve, but Feast has got a chance in the forehand. That is a phenomenal forehand. Another one, also phenomenal. Zverev defends. He's still in the point. This is good defense from Zverev. Really good defense. Feast with another cross-court forehand, though. He's still in the point, but he goes just a little bit too big. That was very impressive from Zverev, though, I got to say.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, against a lot of players that he would have finished the point. So that's, you got to give Zverev credit there for defending.
Yeah.
Well, drawing the error, making Feast go for the lower percentage. Forehand on the line.
Hard to fault him for going for less. I don't know. That's a bit tough there.
It was tough because he was in a compromised position either way. So
yeah.
He might have.
Here we go. Match point for Zverev. Makes the first serve down the tee. Feast gets it into play. Draws a short ball. Backhand cross enough to force the error. Lovely shot from Feast.
Yeah, that's a great play right there. Excellent. I loved how he just leaned on that backhand cross and got the width on it, and he's able to force the steep. Great Zverev's contact point a little bit. And that was
I was going to say, knew he had to absolutely go for it because, I mean, he was all the way off the court.
You can see the people on the side of the court getting ready to interview him. Just not quite sure, because if Feast breaks back in this game, we could be here a while. So
Feast misses the return.
Or maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, fair enough from Zverev. Another 216 km/h serve. Enough to force another error, so it is a second match point.
He's done a good job, Zverev, in this match of coming up with those big first serves when he needed them the most.
Yeah.
Because he has been under pressure on 4 or 5 service games in this match, and he has come up with the big serves.
Yeah. Here we go, match point number 2. Can Zverev find the first serve immediately? Ooh, just out. Not much. So as another second serve. I'm going to say 141 km/h. Slower, 136. That's my guess.
He's going to go for the big one.
146 it was. It's close. Lovely backhand down the line from Fils. Oh, good forehand. Oh, never mind. Actually, the rally is continuing. Slice from Fils. Backhand down the line from Zverev into the Fils forehand. Neither player able to assert themselves too much. There we go. Fils backhand, a big forehand inside out, and he wins the point. That was big. Getting the crowd going here, Vanch.
Wow. Yeah, he's done a really nice job of getting his forehand into play in this game and using it to great effect and being prepared for the ball that comes right after it, because Zverev actually had a very good squash shot there to reset the point, and he was able to. It looked like he might actually gain the upper hand, but it was credit Fils there.
Big credit Fils. That's a few as well, where that's both match points. Fils has been able to force an error off the Zverev backhand. So he's going big into that wing. That's pretty impressive against Zverev's backhand. So we are juice.
Lubitsch's looking a bit more encouraged now as the director of ambition for the FFT.
It was Zverev avoiding hitting a second serve, but it wasn't particularly assertive as Fils gets his hands in the rally. Big forehand down the line. Overhead. Oh my goodness. Oh, Zverev defends, so we are back to neutral. Drop shot out of nowhere from Fils. Is it going to be enough? Probably not. Yeah. Nah, that's a chance missed, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
tough to say.
Yeah. Good defending by Zverev and movement, but yeah, not the best drop shot, and Zverev was up to it quickly.
A beautiful overhead, though. You were quite right about him being explosive from that shot. He took off.
He did, yeah. Like, this is one of those pairs that he could have chosen another sport and he would have been good at it because of his athletic capabilities. I feel like he's a natural athlete.
Yeah, you can tell. My favourite overhead, I think, of the men's game could be Nico Mahou. I honestly think
this is fantastic.
I've never seen him miss one, which is why, he's like the French flag bearer for overheads. Fils is following in his footsteps. Here we go. Advantage. It's a second serve, so Fils able to get a hold of it. He's trading neutral again. He's not going to miss. He clips the net with a backhand. Still in the point, though. Big forehand cross from Zverev there. He should pull the trigger down the line. Not enough, though. Drop shot out of nowhere. Can Fils do enough with this? He can. It's a third match point saved.
Wow. Yeah, Fils doing really well to hang on in this game. And yeah, he actually made Zverev go for the desperation drop shot there.
Yeah.
So
this is getting exciting, Vanch. And for me, this could be a character building game. I mean, if this guy makes a reputation for himself for a match point saver, that's always going to inspire a bit of fear in your opponent's heart, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And Andy Murray style.
Yeah, it's great to see him make this match more competitive.
It's been a little up and down for Fils, but he's there. Big first serve down the tee from Zverev, though, just too much. Again, 218 kilometers an hour. Hits his spot that time. So it's a fourth match point for Zverev.
Yeah, that's how you erase all the tension right there.
Yeah, couldn't have done much better there. As you say, hitting that juice spot down the tee perfectly. Does he make the first serve on the fourth match point? He doesn't even really come close to going over, actually. So second serve now. Is he going to be nervy? I'm going to say 140 now. He's going to go down every time he hits one. No, that's big, actually. 177. Fils with another forehand inside out, though. Inside in, sorry. That is not in. It's not in. Is that in? That's so stupid. That's so silly. I'd be so annoyed. Fils basically couldn't have hit a better forehand, and then Zverev lands on the baseline and pops off the court.
This is going to go down as one of those match points. That's oh yeah, slightly embarrassing, but hey,
Vanchuk's a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zverev pretty over the moon. I guess not about the match itself, I guess, but making a final is pretty big.
Yeah. And I mean, because in terms of his, like we mentioned, his losses have been Medvedev 3 times, Rublev twice, Fritz once, and a couple of other ones in there, like Alcaraz and Madrid. So, yeah, this is the tournament I guess he needed in order to get himself back inside the top 10, probably.
Well, he won't be in the top 10 yet, right?
Yeah, he's going to be in. I think he's top 10 in the race. So it just depends on what Fritz does. So we'll only take him from. I think the best he could do this week is 9th.
Yeah. Zverev, of course, by the way, just looking up the matches he lost in Hamburg, he had reached the semis a couple of times before. Lost to Ferrer back when he was, like 18 years old. And lost to Basilashvili, of course, in Hamburg in 2019. So I guess it's quite a big deal for him to make the biggest final he's ever made in his home country. There's that to look at.
Yeah, I think he's won Munich twice, which is a 250, and then he's been to the Halle final twice on grass.
Oh, yeah, sorry, of course, yeah. Forgot about Halle.
But he's never, at this tournament, he hasn't done better. Yeah, I think this was his 3rd appearance, maybe. And this is
that says it says 5th appearance.
Is it 3rd or 4th? Okay. Yeah,
5th. Yeah, just because there was a couple of first round losses in 2015 and 2016 that kind of go under the radar.
Okay. Yeah, I think but I do remember that run in 2014. He lost to Ferrer.
And he lost to Tommy Robredo as well in 2015. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Of course, Tommy Robredo, a former champion back when it was a Masters, right?
Correct. 2006.
2006, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, getting a bit sidetracked though. Pretty big for Zverev to be making his first final here in Hamburg. He is against Laszlo Djere, right?
Yes. Laszlo Djere, interestingly enough, he's doing well in some of these Clay 500s. He won Rio, and now he's in the final of Hamburg. That's pretty rare, actually. I think he would become the 2nd player since Rafa to win Rio and Hamburg.
Really?
500.
Wow. Quite impressive. And do we give him a chance? And I mean, he's solid as. Djere is solid as.
Again, another guy with a really big forehand and really good inside out, and that's where he gets most of his bread and butter on clay, because he hits a really heavy forehand. And I also quite like his first serve. He can flatten it up. He can, the backhand is solid in terms of trading, but I don't know if I have quite enough against this version of Zverev, who's pretty confident right now. But
yeah, if he's serving like that,
make it a close match.
They have played a couple of times before, actually. They played in 2021 at the French Open. Zverev came up with a straight sets win then. He came up with a straight sets win in Acapulco when they played. It's probably the kind of match that Zverev will get through, like 6-4, 6-4, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's feeling nervy, maybe I really will rate Djere's ability to stay solid in pretty much any matchup. He's not going to give you the match for free ever, really. But yeah, most likely Zverev serves just a bit too well, and that might end up being the catalyst between the two players.
Yeah, kind of similar to today. I feel like serve and backhand. Where I feel like
Yep.
So if he were to win this title, I think this would be his 20th title.
20th.
Well, so that would put him in company with, with Medvedev and Djokovic and Nadal and Cilic.
Challenge is
terms
not
of
as
active
good as
players
Yeah.
with 20 titles. And I guess this would be his 5th 500 title as well. So that would make him, that means 13 of his 20 have been 500 or better. So that's a good ratio.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
We should also add, Zverev has been credibly accused of domestic violence by his second ex-girlfriend. And this time, actually, the mother of his child.
Yeah. It would be remiss of us not to bring it up because it's been pretty much everywhere over, all sort of media,
and
mainstream
I believe
media.
This one is a criminal charge. So
yeah.
That's certainly not something we want to talk about, but it's important to bring it up because
because you can't just skirt over it, obviously.
You can't just shove it under the carpet. I mean, it's understandable that people would be uncomfortable, watching Zverev matches right now.
Yeah. So I mean, he's pretty much. I mean, the fact he's now coming out and winning a title amidst all this it's going to be a nightmare for the ATP. I don't know really how they'll deal with it because they've not dealt with it particularly well in the past. We'll see. Hopefully they do the kind of right thing and at least open up an inquiry into it. They did that last time with pretty much zero outcome.
It took them a long time to even release the statement and come up with it. So the bar is very low as far as the ATP is concerned. Dealing with issues like this, because obviously you've also got Thiago Zajbot-Liosh and Kuzilishvili with charges of their own. But this is the most high-profile example, of course.
Yeah. So it'll also be interesting to see
if you
pretty good almost outro there. John will have a pretty good perspective in this. I'd quite like to see how the German media deal with all because I have no idea if it's going to be kind of swept under the carpet or if there's going to be uproar about it. I know in the past some German media outlets have been pretty scathing, so I'll be intrigued to see what happens.
We will follow this story for sure. But thanks a lot, Jack. This was fun to commentate and get your insight as usual.
Yeah, enjoyed it as always, Vanch. I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.